I've been scammed by Satoshi Nakamoto himself. Because Satoshi Nakamoto in 2009 wrote a post or 2010 actually, wrote a post on Bitcoin Talk.
Hello and welcome to the Joe Nakamoto interview series. We are about to sit down with Bitcoin expert Giacomo Zucco to dissect crypto scams, Bitcoin fundamentals, and the state of the industry. But first, please, pretty please, watch the original documentary, I Exposed Crypto Scams, if you haven't already, or watch it twice. In the video, I flew to Hong Kong to interview potential scammy projects and to ask if I could actually be part of the pre-mine and if the code on these decentralized projects could be changed. So please check it out because this interview is actually the preamble to that documentary and it helped me to form some of the ideas that I had in the documentary itself. Otherwise, let's jump straight into the conversation with Giacomo, who apparently was scammed by Satoshi Nakamoto himself.
It was a shit show. So basically, this year we're running the tech school in the university. So I showed up at the university, but in my bag there is not a badge to open it anymore. And I realized that Agilex has kept it for the mining school, and he has it in France. So I said, okay, no biggie. I mean, just a badge. We'll just ask university. And then I realized that it's the 1st of November, which is like a national holiday, because like it's All Saints Day. Yeah. So the university was closed, and only with the badge we were supposed to get a room. So we start to beg. There were random students coming there. The crew to stream were on the street with all the cameras and stuff, just laying there on the street. And I started to beg every student if they knew any number that could work, any emergency number. Nobody knew anything. At a certain point, one guy said, I know a friend that books classroom in order to study with his friend because he wants to use the blackboard. So he called his friend, and his friend said, yes, I'm in a room. Can you go out and just leave this gentleman in? And he did. And so we basically entered. We started 45 minutes late, but then it was good. But still, we have 350 people on the stream. And then when I started the lecture, it was like 7. But then we went up again. But it was kind of a fuck up.
Wow, so cypherpunks break into universities as well as writing code. So ladies and gentlemen, that is our segue into Giacomo Zucco, who is the head of Plan B Network, and he's also Bitcoin educator, Bitcoin singer, Bitcoin performer, Bitcoin lecturer. He does all wonderful things in the world of Bitcoin. I just want to double check though, Giacomo, are you definitely using the microphone that is the black one next to you, or are you using the Apple microphone? I wasn't sure which one is coming through.
Let me double check. Yeah, Yeti. I'm using this. Is it good enough?
Yeti, good. That's perfect. Yeah. I'm a total fucking noob at this sort of stuff, so I just got to make sure that it's all totally idiot-proofed. But yeah, I wanted to first thank you for giving up your time when I know you're mega busy, and also, like, for the purpose of this conversation, we're talking about crypto scams, right? You're, of course, a Bitcoin educator. I'm, of course, a wannabe Bitcoin educator, and we try our best to help people understand the differences between Bitcoin and crypto, because once you go a little bit more than, say, 5 hours study of Bitcoin, you start to really realize, oh my God, this Bitcoin thing is completely, almost antithetical to crypto. And the other purpose of this video is to discuss this how to spot a crypto scam, or I investigated crypto scams, which is a video I put together in Hong Kong. And I want to refer to you as the Bitcoin crypto expert investigator. So I hope you've got your FBI badge and your sirens and your handcuffs ready. Do you actually have it?
Like an old BTC chip from Grand Rest as a badge.
Okay, amazing. For anyone listening to this on audio, that is a BTC chip from, I don't know, 2013 or 14. Giacomo is very 2013. Jesus, yeah, Giacomo is very OG. But yeah, so before we get to the video though, let's discuss what's going on with your life, and then we'll discuss what are crypto scams and maybe the history of crypto scams too.
There is no relationship between the topics. I hope they are different topics. Discuss your life, and then we will go on to discuss crypto scams. No, I'm joking.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, that took me way too long to get the link there.
So I'm doing several things again, but I'm trying to focus a little bit more on this new project, which is called Plan B Network. So the Plan B initiative was something started in Lugano a few years ago. The idea was to make Lugano in Switzerland, the Italian part of Switzerland. So you eat almost as well as Italy, and you spend a little bit less than in Zurich. So that's the deal. So the best of two worlds. And the idea was to start here in Lugano with this Bitcoin initiative to spread merchant adoption and Bitcoin education, and also attract startups with VC funds from all over the world. So I had some experience with that. Years ago, I had a Bitcoin research incubation center in Milan that ran for a while, BHB Network, and it was very, very cool. We had a lot of fun. So the proposal from the sponsors of Plan B initiative, which are basically Tether and Fulgur Venture, was to recreate something similar, this time in Lugano, but also with a global reach, because we realized that Lugano is a very small part of the world. We cannot really impact the world just staying here and doing nice VC stuff in Lugano, or a small local education or merchant adoption. So we spread out to build this Plan B network. Plan B Network is a global network of educational initiatives which tries to bring together all the things about the Plan B initiative. So basically the Plan B hubs, which are buildings in Lugano, Turin, San Salvador, and elsewhere. The Plan B funds, which are VC funds for Bitcoin startups managed by Fulgur Venture, and the Plan B education initiative. So we do the Plan B test, the Plan B certificate, the Plan B schools, some Plan B podcast. So we are using this brand to spread the Bitcoin world. The idea is
you sponsor me, crucially. You were one of the first guys to pick me up and go, you know what, we'll throw a bit of money at Joe Nakamoto and see what sticks. And here we are 10 months later. Yeah, so it's working.
Yeah, but we also do good things. I mean, we do sponsor you, but we also do. I'm joking. You're great.
Speaking of crypto scammers.
No, you're great, and your content is amazing. And really, we want to create some kind of coordination among grassroots initiative. We think that in Bitcoin, we are decentralized, which is good, but decentralization comes to a cost, because there is a lot of disorganization. And so the idea is to try to put together in a network of peers with different ideas and priorities and tastes and sensitivities, but we try to create a critical mass and an economy of scale of Bitcoin education and activities.
Awesome. Yeah, and as you can hear from your voice, you've definitely picked up something in the past week of doing a conference, then the educational school, as well as doing impromptu requests from annoying journalists who want to speak to you about crypto scams. So yeah, you're one of the more harder working people in Bitcoin, if not one of the hardest. And for that, I admire your work and respect what you do a lot. So, I mean, it was also one of the reasons why I was like, yeah, absolutely, I want Plan B Network to be my flagship sponsor. Anyway, enough bloody shilling of Plan B Network. The purpose of this was to talk about crypto scams. So given that you've been in the space for more than 10 years now, you've seen your fair share of scams.
Yeah.
Before we get to the actual specific scams we're addressing in the Hong Kong video, would you be able to maybe talk us through how crypto scams sort of evolved over the years, and if you saw some sort of trends or maybe even themes or stages of these crypto scams throughout your time in Bitcoin?
Yes, usually crypto scams take on different hats or dresses based on the wave of Bitcoin hype. So the new waves of crypto scams are usually following the Bitcoin price. Bitcoin price is volatile. It goes in waves. You have these all-time highs, and then you have very strong corrections, and then you have some period of quiet life, and then we go again. That aligns roundly with the halving schedule. So every 4 years we tend to have this kind of hype, and at each hype wave, the crypto scams will dress differently. The first wave that I have memory of was mostly about the blockchain meme. So the idea was many chain and no coin. The people running that wave of crypto scam was playing this kind of game of cargo cults, imitating the Bitcoin technical structure, but without any of the Bitcoin use cases or interesting features. So banks were doing consortiums to do a blockchain, and any consulting agency was doing a blockchain. Everybody was doing the blockchain with no coins, basically, no token. So that was the first one, the blockchain wave. This was, I think, that was technologically demented, but it was also probably less damaging that other scams, because it was not targeting retail mostly. These guys were scamming banks most of the time, which, I mean, yeah, you can feel sorry, but they will survive or not, but if not, it's their fault. So, I mean, it's okay. Then there
Just
was,
on that note of the blockchain scams, just I have a personal anecdote on it. Is that so I studied blockchain technology and I did online courses about blockchain technology. They're still on my LinkedIn, and I generally thought that I could become like a blockchain researcher or blockchain analyst. And it was through that journey of like looking at all these blockchain projects and all the case studies that are listed as like there was a successful farming project in eastern Ghana where all of the farmers were putting the seeds on the blockchain, and I was like, this has so many holes in it. This is like, as you call it, demented technology. So it technically a little bit scammed me because it diverted me from my Bitcoin journey a lot earlier on. And I just wanted to share that bit. Okay, so we have the blockchain without a token.
Yeah, but I stand corrected there because I said that the only victims were banks and institutions. Actually, also people like you wasting a lot of time and maybe some money in try to understand this kind of magic technology, which was mostly a nothing burger, like a way to rebrand databases. I remember the best educational tool from that age was a website which is still on. It's called myblockchain.xyz, myblockchain.xyz, which is basically a copy of MySQL, where they call the database chain, the table they are called blocks, and the records are called transactions, and they package MySQL as a blockchain and they sell it to you as a block, as the best possible blockchain, which it is basically. So it's it's still on. You can still download it and you can still run myblockchain.xyz. It's also a very funny website. So that was the first wave. The second wave was, that was many chains and no coin. The second wave was, okay, we understand broadly that blockchains are needed for a decentralized coin like Bitcoin, not for cleaning the ocean or tracking chicken or whatever they were trying to do. So we need to basically replicate Bitcoin. So why not replicate it hundreds or thousands of times? And that was the start of the crypto industry, so the altcoin or shitcoin industry. So that was where everybody was doing a new Bitcoin, basically a better Bitcoin, faster, lighter, more private, and that's still going on to a degree, but it was mostly typical of that age, that kind of second cycle. The third cycle, which basically overlaps with the price hype of 2017, was the ICO cycle. So basically that was an acknowledgement that many chains don't make any sense. So people started to use one chain, mostly Ethereum, one of the survivor of the previous scam cycle, in order to issue new coins. So now the idea was, let's just one chain and many coins, and try to scam people with tokens on top of Ethereum. And that phase, everybody was trying to build something like an app coin. So I create an app, but to use my app, you need my coin, which is basically the reinvention of barter. Whenever every economical actor will issue their own money, so they cannot really use that as money, they basically represent their goods and services, which is barter. So
which is clever. That is smart. Like that is actually a really cunning thing to do. Like all credit to them, right?
Go back to the roots. Basically, we started with barter, then we evolved money in order to solve the double coincidence of one's problem, and then as a new step, we go back to barter. Great idea. What could go wrong? So something went wrong. All the ICOs basically died off. This upcoin idea was dead on arrival. So there was nothing to do. And now we are witnessing a third and fourth waves. On the one in around 2021, there was this kind of DeFi and NFT wave, and now currently there's this layer 2 wave. And basically they go in different direction, but they always collide to the same problem. Basically one side is one chain and many coins, so basically, which is the L2. Let's use Bitcoin to put shitcoins on Bitcoin. So the narrative here is the reason that the shitcoins failed on Ethereum is not because they are shitcoins, it's because they are not on Bitcoin. If we do the same shitcoins but on Bitcoin, this time will be better. This time is different. So NFTs are dying, yes, but NFT on Bitcoin, they somehow magically inherit the security of Bitcoin, the seriousness of Bitcoin, the legitimacy of Bitcoin. Like it's like you create this kind of love potion that doesn't work. But now you do that and you mix it with actual medicine that does work, so you will magically inherit the properties of what you are mixing with. And then, but actually, The idea is one chain, Bitcoin, and many coins, but then again, it's still the coin the problem, because there is no reason for that coin. The other idea is basically a play, which is the L2 movement, layer 2 movement, is a play of something theoretically legit. The idea was one coin, many chains. So the Bitcoin blockchain cannot really scale to a day-to-day use because of its characteristic. So Bitcoin must scale in layers. So we still have one coin, Bitcoin or Satoshis, but even if we have one coin, we need different infrastructures to run the same coin. So we have to move this coin across different security layers and different security models. This is fair, this is real research, so there is a lot of real stuff there, but all the scams are basically trying to hide themselves into this new narrative. And it's interesting that the narrative is becoming, in a way, closer to the truth, so better, less outrageous, less obviously stupid. But on the other hand, it's also becoming more dangerous, because now you really have to become more expert and to get into that to distinguish the differences. The more you go back in time, the more the scam was obvious, which means on one way even sillier, but less dangerous. So the layer 2 scam is particularly difficult to spot because it's reusing all the memes of actual L2 research. So the idea that we need layers to scale Bitcoin is correct, and so everybody now that wants to launch shitcoins is building a layer. Anyway, this last idea, one coin, many chains, is easy to spot when this idea is moving to scams, because they will not respect these premises. They will say, we are building layer 2s on Bitcoin, but magically this layer 2 will always have some kind of token. So you can see that the many coin idea is still coming back. So there is no way that they just stay with Satoshis, because they want your Satoshis and they want to give you back something else. They don't want to get your Satoshi and then give them back to you. Otherwise, they cannot make money out of that. So they take your Satoshi and they give you something. Could be a governance coin, could be a lot of different things, but they need a new coin. So layer 2, there are several problems with this kind of layer 2, fake layer 2 proposals. Some of them are technical problems, so this is not really going to work. We don't know how to do a real roll-up without a data availability problem. So technical questions, but there is also some easy giveaway, a very easy red flag. There is a coin, there is a token, and there is no reason for that, because the whole point of a layer 2 of Bitcoin is not needing a new coin. So in a way...
So is that a really easy red flag we can just tick straight away? Is that if a layer 2 suggests to you a new token, they want your Bitcoin and they want to give you their token in return? Am I dumbing it down too much there?
No, I think it's fair. Then again, you can try to subdivide scams in with even a better taxonomy. For example, some tokens, they just print it and they sell it to you, like most ICOs, like Ethereum and stuff like
meme
that.
tokens and all that kind of stuff. Right? It's made out of thin air, right?
Yeah, XRP was the most egregious example of that. They printed out of thin air 100% of the supply and then just sold it or gave to people. And many other tokens are that way. Then there are some tokens that are in a way there is some mining going on, but there are some reservations. So some part of the tokens is for the team, some part of the token is for the sponsors, the different kind of networks and alliances and partnerships, and that's also usually a giveaway. The third level is it's mined, so it's fair distribution, but somebody insta-mined that, so somebody basically had already the prepared the ASICs or the GPUs or everything in order to mine it. I remember very clearly one of those cases was Green, the Green coin. Green was an instance of Mimblewimble, and I have been contacted. One of my guys in BHB network was researching Green, and he has been contacted by these VCs. They were preparing a mining operation on Green to front run the market 4 months before the official launch of the money. So that's why we say that even with mining, the same kind of immaculate conception, we call it, of Bitcoin is not recreable. Bitcoin was created basically without raising any money. no VC money at all, no VC awareness. Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever they are, created the software, working, finished for free without getting any money. Then he published the software with the Genesis block times reference. He made sure that everybody can check it. He was not mining the day before or the day before. He is basically proving that he started mining only that day, and then most likely he stopped mining for at least 1 week because the hash power is dropping after the first block and is not taken up until a few days after. So basically the idea is that Bitcoin was done without any kind of front running scheme, while even the fair launched coin are still pre-mined to some degree. So they're still a scam.
But even just on that note of, I'd not heard that before, that Satoshi stopped mining for a week, and we can see that through the hash rate in those first couple of weeks since January 3rd, 2009. Is that right?
It is right. You cannot see the hash rate directly, but you can see the block rate. So you can see that after the Genesis block, it takes a few days for the second blocks to come in. So
do we assume, therefore, that he did do that intentionally, and it wasn't? He seems like quite a calculated person, or they seem like a very, very structured, very detail-oriented person. And so do we assume, therefore, or can we assume, rather, that he started, shares the idea, publishes the white paper, starts mining, and then stops mining to say, hey, I'm trying to do this as fairly as possible?
Yeah, we know for sure that in order to get the Genesis block right with that times reference on January 3, he needed some hash rate. We can calculate the hash rate that he needed to be fairly secure to find the Genesis block at that difficulty. And then we know that there have been no valid blocks for a while after that. So we know that the same amount of hash rate was not deployed on the network anymore. So what seems very likely is that Satoshi created the software, presented the software, asked for a peer review, then published the software, then used the software but proving that he didn't mine before that very day, January 3, 2009, and then he stopped mining, and then he took up again when other people showed up, or he didn't at all, and that was just other people showing up. But for sure there was a discontinuity between January 3 and the time before, and the time after that.
Okay, right. I know we're going to come to more crypto scams in a second, but I just want to drill down into why is it problematic, or why is it scammy to have a token at all? Like, surely we're free market economists, right? We don't care about people creating tokens and things. That's absolutely fine, isn't it? Like, why is it scammy to have a token? So
let me try to break down the word scam in 3 different categories. We could use like the burn scale, like first degree, third degree,
first to
third degree. There is also fourth, but that's probably too much. So
being burnt alive, witch burning or something.
So a third degree scam is a plot in which the creator of the token plans to run away with investors' money from the beginning. So he's not delivering anything. He's not willing to build anything. He will just create some appearance to run a normal Ponzi scheme or something like that. He's getting money, he's running away with that money, and then he gives you nothing of which he promised, and you knew it from the very beginning. There are many scams of this kind.
Squid Game token was one of the bigger ones recently. That got sort of international appeal because Squid Game was such a big Netflix series, and so like mainstream appeal was there, and everyone knew from the start it's a rug pull, which is another scam terminology, right? And they just ran off with the money. So that's what you call a third degree burn. We know absolutely it's categorically a scam. Yeah,
they were not even trying to build something. The second degree scam is something that gets actually built. The promoters, the creators and the promoters, they know that it cannot work for obvious economical reasons or for obvious technical reasons. So they're proposing, quantum emulators or a proof of stake or whatever they know cannot work because it never worked before, because there are sound mathematical arguments why it should not work, and they still do it because when they get the money to build the stuff and then the stuff fails, they have better plausible deniability than the third degree scammers. The third degree scammers get rich, they don't even have to waste money in building something, just the appearance, but then they will be hunted because they will be on the run. The second degree scammers, they can have some kind of plausible deniability. They will say, oh, I just built it, I was so convinced it was going to work, but some strange financial mechanism that I didn't predict. So like the Luna token. So
Yeah,
even
I was
if
about to say, Luna, UST, Terra.
UST,
right?
Terra, Luna, the guy ended up in jail anyway, but he prepared some kind of plausible deniability. He said, it's not that I didn't build this mechanism I described. I did build it. The way I said, of course, it didn't work, and you could say it couldn't work and you knew it, but he can pretend that he didn't know it. He can try to hide in plausible deniability. Then I would say that the first degree scam, the less serious, but still could be the most dangerous, even if it's less serious, because people of the first degree type will be convincing, is people that are building something for real that cannot work for technical or economical reasons, but they don't know it and they really believe it's going to work. So these are scammers that are still, in my opinion, liable, because they are basically liable with negligence. They should know better. They should study economics and cryptography before they ask people's money to build something that cannot work. But they honestly believe they can. It's like somebody will wake up and he thinks he has a very good idea to become a heart surgeon, but he has no preparation. So he thinks he has a great idea to transplant heart. Never tried before. He doesn't study anything. He doesn't experiment or on animals or anything. He just goes straight for the patient and he say, "Pay me, and I will replace your heart." And he tries, and everybody dies. So this guy was really, really convinced. He really believed it. So in a way, he was honest, but he's negligent in the best case, because he should have known better before involving other people's lives, or in this case, life savings or money. So, but just to clarify, there are gray zones, of course. So in many cases, there are different people. There are people bringing different degrees of scam within the same project. So usually the head of the project is very often a third degree or second degree scammer, and most of the people doing the legwork, they may very often be first degree scammers. They didn't do any due diligence. They were just super gullables, but they also involved other people without doing due diligence. So they really believe what they say. They are scammed in the first place, and then they are scamming others. And then,
if I could add to your, 3 burns, there's also the fourth one, which is me when I was working for, the likes of Cointelegraph and DappRadar, which is the equivalent of holding your, when you turn the tap on and it's a bit too hot, and you just scold your fingers and you go, "Fuck, that's too hot." That was me, because I was writing about projects that after a few months of writing for them, I was like, this is clearly like the world's biggest scam. And it would be like decentralized metaverse token DAO project NFT. And you'd be like, this is obviously, and it took me a while to realize, oh crap, this whole space is full of scams. And there was a notable conversation I had with one of my managers, and he was like, "Oh, have you finished that project yet about, I don't know, Meta Token 101? And I was like, "No, I'll have it by tomorrow morning. Sorry, it's been a bit late." He was like, "Oh, well, to be honest, I thought it would have rug pulled by then anyway." And I was like, oh my God. So it's not that I know that this is happening. It's that people are aware that it's happening. They're okay that it's happening, and they just need to be paid because that's where they found themselves. And they're sort of trapped within that world of scam, and so they're happy just to burn their hands every day, knowing that they're part of this great big scammy machine. And I think that's another part is that there's a lot of human, useful or gullible idiots, as you refer to them, who are just perpetuating this great big scammy machine.
But I was the same, and I think we can still probably fit us in this kind of first degree, because I remember myself in 2013, I understood Bitcoin partially, but the bulk of it, and then my skepticism was completely destroyed. I went from I believe in nothing into I believe in literally everything, and so for a while I was studying Ripple. That's a funny story. I told somebody already, but not many times. I've been scammed by Satoshi Nakamoto himself, because Satoshi Nakamoto in 2009 wrote a post on 2010 actually wrote a post on Bitcoin Talk about the Ripple project, praising the Ripple project. But the Ripple project he was referring to was an old project of 2006 about routable credit with cryptography that was already dead, and the Ripple people, the XRP people, took the Ripple name after years in 2013 and relaunched the shitcoin with the same name of the legit project of 2006. So by Ryan Fugger. So I've read Satoshi's post in 2013 while the shitcoin was already around, and so I was scammed that involuntarily, of course, but I was scammed by Satoshi Nakamoto himself, reading his own words. So I was getting Ripple, studying Ripple. I was following NXT, and then I met one Bitcoiner, very toxic. Lawrence Naum is now engineering Blockstream, the creator of the Jade, of Green Wallet, and
good wallet.
Yeah, he hired me as an intern biz dev in Green, the Green Address, the company, and I started to praise Ripple, and told me this doesn't make any sense, and explained me why it didn't make any sense, and then I defended myself. I said, yeah, but I didn't know, and he told me, yeah, but you should have known before you started shilling this shit to other people. So it's at best case it's negligence to talk with people that will put money on this without having properly researched yourself. So I can blame myself to have been at least first degree. But as I was saying, inside the same company, many people will be like us. Most people maybe in many crypto scams will be relatively innocent, gullible, first degree people that are still not getting it, and eventually they may get it. But it could also go the other way around. People could start first degree, so they really think it can work. When they realize it doesn't, they have a choice. Either they quit the scam, or they become second degree, so they now know it cannot work, but they still have to be inside because they have to make money or to continue to make money. And then eventually they get tired of even pretending building, and they get third degree because they will just now only maintain the website, and they will not even actually do the software, because they realize, for example, most of the budget raised by the Ethereum ICO in 2015, about 70% was used for marketing, not for technical anything, not for software, because it's clearly more effective. You realize that if you get that money, you put it on marketing, the coin will go up more than if you do any actual kind of technical development or research. So you can start from the first degree, and slowly you can basically go to the third. And also, not only in the same project, different people will be at different degrees, but also within the same person, different pieces of the project may be at different degrees. For example, you really think that the bulk of your idea is going to work, but in order to promote it convincingly, you have to add some things that you know are not going to work, and then you also add something which are your claim, but you clearly are not even trying to build it because they are just smokes and mirror. So it's very complicated to use. We use the word scam as something like monolithic, but there are a lot of nuances and shadows and shades and subtleties and colors and flavors.
Yeah, I mean, it's also what makes this space so riveting and it's a great place to be a journalist. It's a great place to be just a watcher. You know, it's great entertainment. It's great content. You go from people championing Sam Bankman-Fried and Do Kwon and Vitalik as being like God's greatest gift to mankind. And then within 6 months, you know, FTX is up in flames and Sam Bankman-Fried is technically on the run in Bahamas, and then he's in jail. And Do Kwon was found with a ledger up his bum in the Balkans. And, you know, all of this stuff, it makes for incredible entertainment. But we always forget that at the end of every scam, there are people losing money. And I don't know if you remember this, but on the Reddit page for Luna UST, they'd pinned the suicide hotline number for South Korea and I think a few other countries. And that, again, for me, when I was like, oh my God, I had friends in Portugal that lost a lot of money in the Luna UST debacle. And we always forget that, these are actually real people's life savings and real people's decisions that are affected by these people that they might have started out at first degree, but further down the line. And again, like the way you were describing that transition from first to third, it made me think of Richard Hart, for example, who is classic Bitcoin OG, and now he's definitely a third or fourth degree. You know, he's a full-on witch trial scammer. It's true, that there are shades and nuances to it. Have we talked enough about the vague notion of scams within crypto? Do you think we should move on to the actual Hong Kong stuff?
Yeah, I think we have a perfect theory of scams. Now we can go to the practice.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, as you know, I walked around a crypto conference. I've done this before where I've tried to sort of scam the scammers, but not like, I'm just letting them talk. You know, I'm just asking them generic questions and saying I'm a crypto journalist. And this is what is so interesting about the space, is that they're very happy to talk about their projects. And for me, it always brings up that image of, The Big Short, when what's his name, like the main character, walks out of the meeting with the guys that are like, I used to, bartend, and now I own a yacht, and all this sort of stuff. And he's like, why are they bragging? Why are they bragging? He's like, he's like, why are they confessing? I've just messed up the punchline. He says, why are they confessing? He's like, no, they're not confessing, they're bragging. And I do get that vibe a lot when I go around these crypto conferences. I remember finding Alex Mashinsky, the CEO of Celsius. He was onboarding the guy that's in the toilets at the Paris Blockchain Week thing. He was showing him how you can be your own bank with Celsius and you should sign up and stuff. And on the one hand, I found that hilarious, and on the other hand, 6 months ago, I'd done the same thing to a guy in Edinburgh on a night out. I'd given him some sats on Wallop Satoshi, and I was like, oh God.
Well, yeah, it's hard to draw the line between enthusiasm and shilling. I guess that there is some level. When we on Orange Pill people, we are still onboarding people with enthusiasm and with a proactive attitude into something that still has some risks, because I think that we can say honestly that fiat is way more risky than Bitcoin. But Bitcoin is risky. There are some failure scenarios. So there is a line which is always difficult to assess. But then luckily the crypto scams are always at the end so crystal clear in their unfolding that you understand exactly where the line is. I guess it's the blurred lines can be an excuse for people to scam. Can be like a protection from consequences, but ultimately, I think that this process we explain between first degree to third degree is really the discrimination. You can be a little bit in between. You cannot even know what you are doing, but when you understand what we are doing is basically crumbling down. Now you have the choice: double down to protect your failure into more lies and more lies, even more intentional and more blatant. Or you go back and you say, okay, I fucked up. I was completely misled, maybe for some degree of negligence, and now I know better. So that's the real, the starting point is people talking about stuff they don't understand, but that's true for everything. I mean, we have, the world is complex, we cannot be specialists in everything, so we have to assume, we have to guess something about complex phenomenon. But then when we understand we are wrong, we can decide to double down into lies, or we can just admit that we were wrong, which happens.
Everyone's a scammer. Okay, so for the purpose of this discussion about these specific projects in Hong Kong, there are a couple of questions that I want to sort of keep front of mind as we do it. So those questions are, is there a pre-mine? Can the code be changed? Would you trust the founders to look after your dog for the weekend, or your cat or turtle, whatever it is? Is the project doing something genuinely useful, like actually solving a real life problem? And then the final thing is, how do they market their scam or project, whatever it may be? But just to the first question, we kind of addressed it anyway, like, is there a pre-mine? That also assumes, is there a token? And, you've said it, I think, if there is a token, like, can you just spell it out for me? Why is it that if someone sells you a token, why is it a scam? Like, why is that not okay? Why is it unethical to just create a token out of thin air?
Basically, I did something during 2017 that I called the ICO triangle. So I was drawing this triangle with ICO, trying to show that you can never, is the trilemma, you can never have all three. So I was basically an investment, initial investment, initial offering or something, and C was something that used cryptography heavily, some cryptocurrency technology similar to Bitcoin, so something like Bitcoin, which is coin basically. And you can do IC, you can do an investment that uses technology without any kind of official company. So you can try to create, for example, a crypto share of your company. So I create a drug market and I sell you the shares of the drug market. The reason I using cryptography is that I wanted to do it with, like Bitcoin, unstoppable, decentralized. The problem with that is that our present understanding of technology doesn't allow to do something as complex as a company, a project. We already are doing money with Bitcoin, which is still a very ambitious challenge, and something beyond that, like a stock market with dividends, cost, we don't know how to do it. and nobody did a real decentralized DAO with dividends. That would be legit if possible. So if we could create companies that use coins instead of shares in an unregulated market in a decentralized way, but we can't right now. There is no way to do it. There's always a website. There's always we will need probably decentralized storage and computation solution. We will need a smart property, a lot of very complex stuff. We don't have it. Then you can do CO. So you can do some kind of coin using cryptography, like a token like Bitcoin, but with something offering, I use the letter to indicate something completely regulated, official, completely compliant with basically security laws. If you do like the so-called security tokens, which includes the stuff that you can do now on Liquid or Bitfinex market or whatever. The problem, I don't think this is a scam. The problem is that in many, many cases, this is just unnecessary technological friction, because you will be regulated exactly like in an IPO, because the real cost will be KYCing people, the fact that you cannot transfer this token from one person to the other. So imagine you receive a security token on your wallet. Then you lose the wallet and somebody else gets the keys. In 99.9% of the jurisdiction, the original owner, you, will still access to the security rights, and the owner of the key will get nothing, because the master is actually the centralized database. This is the same as tokenized real estate is the same. If you have the token for real estate, but you don't have legal claims, people with legal claims will get it, and people with the token will get nothing. So all this token structure is just a distraction. It's just basically a fake circus on top of something which is just a normal share or a normal right or a normal, I don't know, royalty or whatever. And then there is the other option, which is basically OI, which is basically, it's an official CO. So use some cryptocurrency technology, some cryptography for some kind of offering, but you say that it's not an investment. So you claim that it's a utility token, so it's not going up in value. For example, you create a telephone company and you issue a crypto token for this telephone company that represents 1 minute. So it's not an investment. It's just a unit of your service. The problem is that why should people buy it? You don't buy minutes from a company that is about to start, because you are just assuming the risk, and you are just better off waiting for the company to start and buying the service after it's already in the market, instead of pre-buying. So it doesn't make any sense. And then there is basically OI, so you're doing an official offering with a legal structure and with KYC and everything of investment, but in this sense, like security tokens, but in this sense, you don't need any kind of cryptographic technology, any kind of Bitcoin-derived technology, any kind of cypherpunk structure. It's completely redundant, because you will follow regulation. Your cost will be 90% legal and not technical. You are just doing a normal IPO, and you're just stuffing some kind of cryptographic smokes and mirrors on top just to make it more appealing. So the idea is that there is no way a token makes sense, basically. The only way you can try to do something is to reproduce Bitcoin, but for economical reasons, money converges to one. During the history of mankind, money started from many different products and many different commodities, and then it basically converged into three main commodities, the three precious metals, so basically gold and silver and copper. And there was a reason for this, because gold is very portable, very dense, but very hard to divide, while copper is very easy to divide, but not dense at all, and silver is in between. So you had this trade-off between divisibility and portability. When people started to move to virtual gold, so banknotes, silver monetization basically disappeared. In a very few years, silver went down because all the monetary premium disappeared. So you can see from the history of market that money converges over one. The reason we have different monies today after Bretton Woods, after the beginning of the 20th century, is that nation states are forcing citizens to use different money with legal tender laws. But usually citizens of any country will try not to use the local money, but to converge to the stronger money, which is the US dollar currently. So everywhere in the world, if you give somebody the option to have local currency or dollars, they will converge to dollars. So recreating Bitcoin is just trying to basically fraction the demand for convergence into different. Just think that the world the market will naturally diverge on 3, 4, 5, 400, 500, 6,000 different kinds of money, which is basically, again, going back to barter. So it doesn't work. So having a token in itself is most likely a scam. Sometimes the scam is not against the investor. For example, you can consider if you keep this or cut it out, but I think that so-called stable coins are a scam. Because first of all, there is nothing stable about fiat money, especially the dollar. We will see how much stable it is in the future. But secondly, there is no need technically to use crypto protocols to move around credit from a centralized company. So why I think they are different though from crypto scams? Because the victim of the scam are not investors. There is nobody who can tell you, give me $1, so you invest and you make money out of this stable coin. No, best case scenario, they get $1 back. So there is no investment thesis around that. Where the victim of a scam is the regulators that will basically be lost into this blockchain woo, and it will allow stable coin issuers to do stuff that PayPal cannot do. For example, serve emerging markets, people beyond banking identities, or unbanked people that cannot get a PayPal account can back a stable coin account. So in this case, I think in that case, the blockchain scam is a blockchain scam targeting the regulators, which, I mean, I'm fine with that. I think it's, if the SS is coming to your house asking you for people hiding and you scam them away, that's fine. You're scamming the SS. That's a good thing to do.
And we all want to scam the SS. I think that's something everyone can agree on. Okay, wicked. So we've definitely addressed the token side of things. I guess within that, we can keep in mind the pre-mine as well, because a lot of people might be like, well, yeah, but I want to invest my money in these token things. It might go up in value. And the point I'm trying to get across is that, yeah, that's fine. Like, go to the casino, play blackjack, play whatever you want to do. But just know that in this casino, it isn't that we're all playing by the rules of blackjack. It's that you're playing by the rules of blackjack that you think you know, and they're playing by, with a rigged deck of cards, that kind of thing. But let's talk about the actual projects. Do you want to start with perhaps we start with, I guess this is probably the degree 1 burn. This is the Jambo phone one, or not just the Jambo phone, but the Jambo phone character. Do you want to start with that one? Because I think it's kind of like the fun, more light-hearted one. That this, for people that aren't aware, this is a Web3 enabled $99 phone which targets emerging markets in particular. And the idea is that you can buy this phone and then you can take part in the Web3 revolution, whereby you can do stuff on your phone which will earn you money. However, and this is an important caveat, when you go to try and withdraw that money from the phone, there are dozens of Google reviews, and this phone hasn't really gone properly live yet. It's still not shipping everywhere. There are dozens of reviews of people saying, where is my money? How do I get my money off this phone? So far, I'm disappointed with the experience. Third world phone, literally. And then another thing, the withdrawal option, I don't understand how it works. I don't know how to convert it to the Philippines peso. I've got a number of reviews that I'm sure maybe I'll do an ad read of these reviews at the end of the podcast or something. But what was your take when you saw this guy's pitch? The guy in Hong Kong, by the way, he was wearing a Rolex. He was wearing a really nice like pearl kind of necklace. He actually used to be in a quite a famous Korean K-pop band. And he did a performance at the Solana conference recently as well. What did you make of his sales pitch and of the Jambo phone generally?
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. This is a typically first-degree scam guy. Seems like he doesn't know what he's doing, but he doesn't have a brilliant plan to get away with the money. He's just following the flow, and the fact that he's actually falling to be the spokesperson for several different crypto scams, I think reinforces that. Of course, again, this is not without any responsibility, because you should not get people into an investment that you yourself don't understand. But there is something sweet about the character, I think, deep inside. Like when you ask him what we will do with his money, and instead of just going full Richard Hart talking about Louis Vuitton private jets, he will just try to buy something nice for his mom. And I think he really means that. He thinks that he doesn't understand how money works. He doesn't understand you have to actually create something useful for people in order to create some win-win situation. He doesn't get that. Maybe it's completely is completely submerged with the fiat mentality of this kind of zero-sum game where people just have to hustle it and just have to fake it until you make it, and it doesn't seem to really understand the outrageous claims that he is doing about people in the third world needing Web3. So Web3 is mostly people gambling or on meme coins with spare money. They are so bored that they basically have spare money. They want to gamble on something that doesn't make any sense. They don't understand it. They don't really think there is anybody else understanding it. While people in the third world usually have real needs. They need to eat. They need to sleep. They need to basically have medicine, access to medicine. So the idea that the third world is this kind of huge repository of people willing to gamble on nonsense memes 24/7, it's really funny to me. I mean, like on one side you say, I mean, these people are already unfortunate to be born in country that is poorer. So you're really like piling on this kind of misfortune with your scam. Leave them alone. But then again, to some degree, they are not even really the target usually. The fact that the people living in the third world don't need Web3 phone means that they are not even really the target of this kind of scam. I think that most of the, I don't know, but I would suspect that most of the reviews are not really from poor third world country people that saved for 3 months in order to buy one Web3 phone and then could not get the money out. Probably it's more middle class inside the same country where this project was launched, and they try to make some kind of, they still are maybe in need of money, and that's the typical target of gambling, this kind of people that they can afford living, but they get sold the dream to live better with zero effort, with this kind of lucky strike where they they start to bet on horses or playing with a slot machine or gamble with Web3, and then they make money. So it's very funny. I think you draw some parallel with Axie Infinity, which I think is very fitting. This idea that you can do activity on your phone and somebody will pay you for that, and nobody really thinks why they should pay me for it. This is a strange, that there is a lot of Web3 or crypto projects, even like I remember the attention token by Brave or other stuff.
Oh yeah.
The idea that you do your stuff and then somebody will pay you for doing your stuff. This is not really how the markets work. I think this is like a strange distortion on the idea of advertising models. Advertising models are, you are doing your stuff, I will disrupt your flow, I will show you something you don't want to see, I will interrupt your favorite TV program to show you something that will make you want to spend your money to buy something else. So you're getting some entertainment or information for free so that you can pay for some other product. If you are poor and you are not my typical target market to buy anything because you don't have money, I don't need to pay you to do what you like to do. If you are playing a game and you like it, I'm not paying you for that. Just play the game. If you are lucky, you paid for free. If I think that I can sell you something else, if you have some money. But there's this idea that you read your email and somebody will pay you to read your email. You surf the net and somebody will pay you for the net. That's not how advertising model works. People just give you free shit because they want you to buy some other expensive shit. Otherwise, they will not invest in that. If you're not going to spend your money after your internet section, you are not the good target for an advertising model. So the idea that you can make money while browsing doesn't make any sense. It's not new to crypto, but the crypto, there were already like this website in which you watch thousands of video and you will make like one fraction of a dollar. But still, and they were centralized without any crypto narrative. But now the crypto narrative makes everything easier because it's so confusing. So basically, you are piggybacking on a success story, which is Bitcoin. So by association, by connection with Bitcoin, you give some credibility. You try to absorb some credibility, and also it's complex. Like cryptography is complex, game theory is complex. So everything that would be simple to see in a centralized version, if you just create the DeFi version of that, people will fall for it. It's just like, I don't know if you have ever seen the scientists creating perpetual motion machines. they can just create it simple, like there is this machine is going on forever, but they never do it. They always connect it with a spring that will basically connect with a coil that will make something evaporate inside this kind of bag that will explode, scaring a chicken that will lay an egg, and the egg will actually go on a lever. That is always like that. They can never make it simple. So crypto is a great Ruby Goldberg basically machine in order to hide the economical impossibility, which is something like use your phone and I pay you for that. Why?
Well, exactly. But I think that what's interesting here is the third world narrative. You know, we sometimes hear this, and there's this whole like savior complex among among developed countries of like, we've got to help, developing countries. We've got to present solutions to them, and like, well, if we use Web3 plus emerging markets, it's this sort of wonderful tugging on the heartstrings message of, you buy this phone and you're helping a dude in Africa, and it's like, it's just laced with like guilt. It's laced with like these horrible feelings, and the whole thing just makes me kind of uncomfortable that you're in a very expensive part of Hong Kong at this like lavish crypto event. And I know this isn't necessarily a scam, this is more like a feeling, but that feeling of like, oh god, this clearly very wealthy dude is discussing how we're helping the poor guys in Africa who just need this Web3 phone. I don't know how to address that, but me at the time I was like, ugh, I feel dirty. I've lived in Africa, I've lived in the Ivory Coast, I lived in Tunisia, I lived in South Africa, and like when you see people genuinely that live in their taxi cabs, they drive all day and then they sleep in the back of their car, and that's like actual like fucked up poverty, and they're the guys that should be buying this phone. I want to slap these guys and be like, you serious? Like that is an insult. It is awful of you to even like propose that idea. But maybe they actually think, they smell their own shit and think, yeah, this is great. This is I don't know. Maybe I'm just rambling, but
no, I agree with you. It's not something that we can assume that everybody really concerned for poor people will give up any worthy desire. They will give up everything like Saint Francis. That's not the thing. But there is this kind of self-absolving idea of, it's the same of Sam Bankman-Fried with this kind of effective altruism. So
the humble billionaire.
There is clearly there is a contradiction between us wanting luxury stuff and us really wanting to make the single life of somebody in a pure situation better, because it's obvious that they have nothing, you have more. So if you really cared more for them than for yourself, you would probably give away what you have. The reason you don't is that there is some rationality after not doing that, behind not doing that, because for example, people receiving free things will probably get back to the same situation after a while by selling and gambling on all the money. So there are complex situations that you cannot address just becoming poor yourself without really helping. So the idea that instead of giving somebody a fish, you should teach them how to fish, it's a rational idea. But then sometimes you can go to the extreme that you really live your life in private jets and expensive cars and lavish lifestyle, and you go in the conference with the Rolex and with the necklace, and then you really try to pull the guilt, to play on the guilt of people that you're asking money from. Like, these guys are poor, please help them. So you are basically taking money from people that are not rich in order to get expensive stuff for you, and the narrative you're using is to help people that have even less money than that. So yeah, it is kind of dirty. I agree with that.
Okay, I think we've definitely talked that one. I was also just sort of inwardly laughing there because have you seen my latest YouTube video? I only uploaded it yesterday, but it's about how I took a private jet for Bitcoin. so I'm currently the dirty one. Okay, let's move on to...
No, but you're not playing too much. I mean, you didn't take the private jet specifically in order to save poor people somewhere. So maybe...
No, I did it to... the whole point is to make fun of billionaire lifestyles and to suggest that we put billionaires and people with money on a pedestal, and we're like, oh, they're so successful because they're rich. and it's actually BS. We should frame our approach to money a bit differently. It went a bit. I think I tried to push it a bit too far and went a bit meta. But should we go to Merlin chain, or would you like to look at BitLayer? Oh no, let's say BitLayer for last because that's the most scammy one.
Let's go to Merlin chain.
Merlin chain, yeah. Okay, so this guy was who was a bit tired of life, and I think he was a bit sad about the fact that the Merlin token since launch has just plummeted. But yet Merlin chain, as per the interview that I conducted with, I can't remember if it was their co-founder, I'll get his name properly, but he boasted the largest users and volumes today. And the reason why they've created Merlin chain is because everyone knows that Bitcoin layer 1 is slow and expensive, but with us, they can have smart contracts and better yield, and they've got airdrops to users, and the token might be going down now, but they're growing, and it's all about the users. And it did strike me as your classic crypto project, but instead this time you've got the L2 narrative on top. But I really want to hear your take on what was this Merlin chain all about, and how convincing was it to you?
Well, I'm not actually selling my house to buy Merlin tokens, so I'm not completely convinced. This seems like the textbook crypto scam in many regards. So you start by misinforming people about Bitcoin. So you're claiming that no one is talking about Bitcoin, that Bitcoin is failing, that Bitcoin is slow, that Bitcoin is expensive, that Bitcoin doesn't have any programmability capability, no smart contract, all the things that are false. And then you come with the solution. So I heard about Bitcoin and I'm here to fix it. So that's the typical crypto token scam. But now it's using the L2 cover the L2 narrative, which as we discussed before, it's a little bit insidious, because while it's not true that Bitcoin is low and expensive compared to the benefits that it gives to people, and it's the fastest and cheapest thing that we can currently do in order to make people exchange digital cash, but it's true that the layer 1 of Bitcoin is particularly slow and expensive, especially if used at scale. If everybody was going to use the layer 1 would be very expensive and very slow, because people will have to wait for many, many blocks in order to be able to afford to enter a block. So this narrative, the typical crypto scam narrative is Bitcoin is broken, buy my shitcoin. In this case, they are adjusting to something that people are starting to understand. Bitcoin is not broken in itself, but the Bitcoin layer 1 cannot be used for everything. So we need other layers, buy my shitcoin. So it's a little bit subtle, it's elaborated, and it's playing into something where there is still a strong information asymmetry. A few years ago, people didn't know anything about Bitcoin. So you could just say, Bitcoin doesn't work, buy my shitcoin. Now many, many more people are exposed to Bitcoin. They know that the Bitcoin works, and they know that their shitcoin don't work. So they need to get smarter, and they need to address a little. They need to concede a little bit to truth. The truth is that the layer 1 of Bitcoin cannot scale to everyday global usage. So there are layer 2s, but let's not just use the normal standard working actual layer 2s of Bitcoin. Buy my layer 2 with my token, and that's what's going to save you. So that's the typical playbook, but with this kind of layer 2 twist, which is typical of this new wave, these new cycles. And it's fine because it's always about mass adoption, while people like the use case of saving, so protecting your money from inflation, is a mass adoption level use case. Everybody everywhere are trying to save their wealth from fiat money debasement everywhere. Somebody, not everybody, but everywhere there is somebody with that kind of problem. That's really a mass adoption use case. And Bitcoin serves that pretty well. Then there is the use case of international payments and settlements, people paying a huge amount from Argentina to Taiwan. That's a huge use case, and usually there are problems with international payments like sanctions, geopolitical blockades, bureaucratic cost, and Bitcoin can bypass that pretty well. Then there is the problem of paying day-to-day stuff, especially when you, for some reason, cannot use cash, like online, like e-commerce online, and Bitcoin covers that pretty well. And then there is the use case of, there are many use cases. Avoiding cash in a dangerous country where going around with a better cash can be dangerous, so you can use Bitcoin. Yeah, the remittance, and Bitcoin is serving those cases. And then, so you're going farther away from mass adoption. And then you go to the niche of the niche of the niche, which is gambling with shitcoins. That's really something that only basically first world privileged, bored teenagers and failed traders will try to do. It's like the idea that Web3 smart contracts are the need not only of the third world, but in general of global adoption targets is ludicrous. There is literally nobody that needs anything that Web3 is presenting, except a very, very small niche, which is relatively loud within and around the Bitcoin space. The reason for that is that they get money that they have to spend in marketing. So when Bitcoin is relying on spontaneous marketing, on spontaneous adoption, organic adoption, this shitcoin have a very strong marketing budget to go and disrupt all the Bitcoin podcasts, the Bitcoin conferences, the Bitcoin circular economists, and stuff like that. So around when Bitcoin is the cargo cult, which is emulating Bitcoin to make money, the crypto scam, is following with a strong budget to try to perceive itself as big. But actually, if you actually think about mass adoption use cases, there is no way gambling with frogs and cats is more is serving a bigger markets that's saving money from inflation.
I mean, they would make the argument that that is also a way of fighting currency debasement, but obviously it's not. It's gambling. There's a big difference, a huge difference between the two. Okay, before we move on to the next one, just a couple of comments on. I just thought it was really interesting how he didn't really care about the definition of like words or users, and then also he threw out the idea that before last year no one was talking about Bitcoin, and I just thought that there was some quite sort of sneaky salesman narratives he was spinning. Like they present these like sort of mistruths as, oh, we all think that's real. Like, you know, the presentation which you've already mentioned of Bitcoin is slow and useless and it's too expensive to use, and that's why we've got to create this. I was like, oh, that makes sense. And then, well, before last year, no one was talking about Bitcoin. And now we're talking about Bitcoin thanks to my project, so my project's legit. And the other thing of like, I think I caught him out on, wait, are you sure that's the right definition of that? And he was like, well, you know, definitions are, you know, fluid, and, you know, that's just how it is. It's okay. You know, users, I can't remember the exact thing that he said, but it was like, oh, have I lost you? No, you're still there. Sorry.
No.
This rambling around of what are words, what are definitions, did you read into that much, or was that just a salesman being a salesman?
No, well, it's in a way, I always say that crypto is the immune reaction of the fiat world to Bitcoin, because crypto is not just different from Bitcoin. It's the opposite in many, many ways. It's the way that fiat mentality will react to Bitcoin. And one of the characteristics of Bitcoin is that Bitcoiners tend to become maybe over-critical of proper definition. They will be over-cautious about over-promising. So when somebody from the Bitcoin community will say something like, this is layer 2, there will be plenty of people trying. It's not really, because the unilateral exit is only possible in good case scenario. And the people will fight back, but they will say, yeah, you're right, but I'm doing this to make the unilateral. They will take the challenge and try to stay as clear as they can with definition. There is a pride in Bitcoin to actually be accurate, not overpromise, not try to overhype something, and to be realistic. While in crypto is the other way around. I mean, yeah, it's not really an L2, but you know, definitions are fluid. So if you identify yourself as an L2, you basically are. So there's like this very, very kind of kumbaya situation in which everybody can be an L2. They just have to feel like it.
Exactly right. It's quite an interesting reflection on other themes in modern society. I won't say any more. That's not the basis of my podcast at all. Okay, but that is a great segue onto this project which claims to be an L2, or at least feels that way, which is BitLayer. But during the interview, the co-founder called Kevin insisted that they are an L2 because they fit the Bitcoin Magazine definition of L2, which, by the way, if you check Wayback Machine for the article itself, the definition has also changed on Bitcoin Magazine. And I'm not going to cast any aspersions here, but it does feel as though because Bitcoin Magazine and UTXO management are, part of BTC Inc. and UTXO management has investments in projects like BitLayer, it makes you sort of ask a few questions about what's going on in this L2 space and where is the money sort of going. And just another note on that is that BitLayer was there at the Ordinals conference in Hong Kong, but they also had a stand at the actual Bitcoin conference in Hong Kong, despite the fact that, well, I think we're going to go into this now, but it doesn't really appear to be any kind of L2 in terms of unilateral exit, in terms of using Bitcoin as an actual native token. And when you feed the Bitcoin Magazine article to ChatGPT and you feed the white paper and the information about BitLayer to ChatGPT and you ask ChatGPT, does this actually fit the definition of a Bitcoin Magazine L2? It says BitLayer does not meet all the defined criteria for Bitcoin Layer 2 as per Bitcoin Magazine's updated editorial policy. Its reliance on additional tokens, layered complexity and exit strategies, and multi-chain compatibility mean it's not purely a Bitcoin-dependent Layer 2 in the way the editorial policy requires. And yet, in the interview, Kevin insisted several times on his definition meeting the Bitcoin Magazine definition. And I've also read through both documents a couple of times now to try to make sense of this mumbo jumbo. And I'm like, how are they still claiming, like with a straight face, that they are this Bitcoin L2? It's just lies. I'm talking a lot here, Giacomo, as well, to give you a break, because I know you've been talking a lot, and to help you organise your own thoughts. But yeah, I'm really interested to hear what you think about this. And let's start off with the fact that in the interview, Kevin kept saying, Bitcoin is not achieving mass adoption. It needs help. We need to do something to get it to achieve mass adoption.
Yeah, I think Kevin is proving the Merlin chain guy right in a way, because yes, definitions are fluid, especially the ones in Bitcoin Magazine articles, according to the Time Machine, because they are fluid. We can speculate on why they are so fluid and they change, but they are fluid. The thing is that this is probably the best representation of what we were discussing about the fact that scammers are getting smarter. And they learn how to update their pseudo-technical mambo-jumbo in order to appear connected with the actual research and development going on in Bitcoin. Development going on in Bitcoin is hard. Even if that's what I'm dedicating my life, every waking moment, I still have a very hard time following up all the current evolution. Like L2, there is a Lightning Network connecting different security models. There is the Pundria channel type, which is the working one that we use every day, with several limitations, including the problem with inbound liquidity or async receiving and all this stuff. Then there are ARCs and state chains, and there are eCash means that can be federated or not. There is Liquid that can integrate the Lightning Network in different ways, like with swapping, like in Aqua. There is this discussion about zero knowledge proof that can try to bridge something. The first one talking about that was Gregory Maxwell in 2013, called it Coin Witness. So you can create a zero knowledge proof of an external consensus system into Bitcoin, so you can swap the Bitcoin in and out and create an actual trustless layer 2 or sidechain. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and up to a few years ago, most crypto scams were just inventing random pseudo-technical pseudo jargon. Now they are tuning into, I think with the help, frankly, of Bitcoin Magazine to some degree, but they are fine-tuning into the actual technical discussion. And everybody who is not really into that can easily fall for that. For example, in Bitcoin, there has been a lot of hype last year about BitVM. Robin Linus is the cryptographer developing BitVM. And he
seems like a decent dude, right? He's genuine broke. Yeah. Okay. Cool. My scam radar was not going off at all when I spoke to him. I was like, no, this sounds like a genuine, smart, and also kind dude. He would let him look after your dog for the weekend. I would, and I did. I did. I mean, I did. You did? No, not really the dog, but like I was involved into the association, which is rolling out his project, because they needed a Swiss resident, so I did, because I think they're serious. I like what they're doing. And so he is very, very knowledgeable about what he invented, BitVM. And people that started to build this kind of cat VM started to make a lot of
basically imprecise and confusing and misleading claims, and he called them out. But the problem is that the space is so complex and the topic is so hard to understand properly that nobody can distinguish the original inventor claiming that that many other claims are fraudulent from all the noise surrounding it, because the scammers understood that if they just try to fine-tune to make their words seem very, very similar, then they can get away with it, because most of the people, they don't have time to research a topic properly until the end. So, for example, in this case, Kevin is talking about BitVM as a potential bridge for stuff. That's something in itself is true and interesting. We could have something like Liquid, like RGB, that potentially in the future could use BitVM to have provers proving the off-chain consensus in order to unlock some coins in the main layer. That's something interesting and good, and that's beautiful. But it's not here. It's not doable right now. It's something that will require years and years of research. And this kind of tokens and scams, they will try to sell you like this kind of far-fetched, very important and very interesting research is something they can just use now and package and sell to you with the token. Of course, again, I think that, again, like before, the clearest red flag will be the fact that they have a token. Why do we have a token? Then there are all the funny things about when is this token coming out, and you say that he's not legally allowed to tell you when, which is a strange, I mean, I'm not sure there is a law that prevents you to tell people when a token is coming out, but then you can add, but definitely before the summer, and then the summer is over because we are in November. So I'm not entirely sure about these legal obligations that he has. But still, there is this but it's the same thing. Like there is, people are not lawyers, so that we don't. Regulations are many, contradictory, different, dishomogeneous, mostly stupid. And so we don't know all the regulations. So it can play this kind of, I cannot answer your question because of regulation. Then cryptography and game theory of Bitcoin is hard, complex. Crypto economics is very complex, not even a real word. And so it can just play with that, saying, it's a ZK roll up with BitVM, but it's basically taking words from research fields that are promising, but where nothing is done yet, and nothing is remotely close to be complete and usable, and it's just packaging this kind of science fiction promises into one token that you will be able to buy very, very soon, even if it's not legally allowed to tell you when.
Oh, Zing, you nailed that one. That was great. I mean, is it worth going through each project one by one and just doing a quick fire? Like, is there a pre-mine? And you just say, like, yes, there is obviously a pre-mine and it's a scam for this reason. I'm just wondering if we can get some quick sound bites that would be useful for the overall documentary. I'm just worried that when I give this to Aaron and we go through it again with a fine needle, that we're going to have lots of Giacomo Zucco, Bitcoin expert, 10-minute long essay answers that unfortunately, when it comes to a YouTube video, are very hard to... But it makes for great podcast. I imagine there's going to be a lot of people nodding along to this, being like, yeah, he's fucking bang on, and you are bang on. But should we go through just quickly, because I know that time is precious as well. So for Merlin chain, is there a pre-mine?
Yes, it seems like there is a pre-mine. There definitely is a pre-mine, and he's also discussing the allocation, and is bragging about giving away 21% of the total supply. They're pre-mining.
Nice. Can the code be changed for any of these projects, actually?
Usually, yes. They are all very centralized, so there is no economic resistance to change. In Bitcoin, if you try to change something, Bitcoin will react by preventing you to change it. While in this project, it's just the owner of the project that will do whatever they want.
Mm-hmm. And in fact, when I insisted on a couple of them, you can change the supply there, can't you? They're like, yes, on balance, and it's like, lol.
Yeah.
I love that they just admit that to me. But which of these three projects, which one would you most trust with your dog or pet to look after for the weekend?
I think that I don't know. Definitely not Kevin, but the Jambo guy seems like a guy that probably will not do something terrible to my pet. Maybe, I don't think he will try to sell it straight away. And even maybe I can get it back. I don't know.
Okay, amazing. And then of these 3 projects, which would you say is the most useful?
So I would go with Jambo phone, because even if I think the target is terrible, the marketing is terrible, it's very dishonest, and everybody's saying it doesn't work, and there is these tokens that you cannot get out. Still, the idea of researching Android-based cheap phones, if you remove all the core characteristics of Jambo phone, so if you remove the Web3, the DeFi, the tokens, basically everything, still researching of cheap phones for the third world is something worthy. So you can probably maybe buy the Jambo phone, flash away everything that they have done, and keep the phone. So it's still a hardware. Maybe you can reuse the battery, maybe you can reuse the antenna, you can scrap it, you can, scavenger like. So you can probably save something from a hardware phone.
Amazing. It's true. It's still a phone, and that's what got me hooked with it as well. And he had a nice bag with it, and he's got a Rolex. He was definitely the more friendly of the lot. I will send you a video separately of him performing a violin rap song on stage. Did you see that video I shared with you?
Not yet. Maybe that will change my perception.
Watch it with Mia later. It's brilliant. But okay, and then the final thing, we're definitely wrapping up now. It's just, how can people listening, or when someone comes up to a Bitcoiner, because it's probably Bitcoiners listening to this, and says, but bro, there's this amazing thing and it's doing the BitVM, ZKM, rollup, blah, blah, blah. What are the things you could just be like, easily like condense it into like, these are the red flags you should look for, and this is why it's probably a scam?
So 1, there is a token, pre-mined or not, run away. 2, future technology with the urge to get in early. That doesn't make any sense. Bitcoin, when it was created, used a technology that was already off the shelf, available. Satoshi used OpenSSL cryptography, SHA-256. Everything was already available. We can and we should do research into advanced stuff. But if people try to sell you the advanced stuff as something you have to do to have now, that's nonsense. You should now start to learn how to open a Lightning Network. But Lightning Network was first conceived in 2014, so there is no rush. If everybody's trying to rush you into something technologically new because it's a unique opportunity, run away. Even if you are wrong, the unique opportunity will present itself at the proper time, when this is not anymore science fiction, but when this is actually usable in 10 or 15 years. So stay calm. Bitcoin is now something that you should start a little bit rushing into. But Bitcoin is from 2008, using the technology from the 90s. So token, and you cannot miss this latest technology hype. You have to follow it. This is typical of a scam, the rush.
Mm-hmm. Okay, fantastic. And where should people go to check out the best Bitcoin education ever?
planb.network. There should also be one course about, of course, and then buy our Plan B token. No, I'm joking. We don't have a token. We don't have a token, but you can find a lecture from Roxy about crypto scams as well. So you can also.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I'll link to that in the description. Okay, wonderful. I think we have covered everything. I'm just going to double, triple check my notes.
Yeah.
And of course, I've got to mention that none of this constitutes financial advice. Although it's obviously we're just constantly discussing financial stuff. I think we're good. I think we're good. I think this is going to be a fun piece of content, and I'm definitely sticking my neck out a bit here, but I think it's really important to get this message across. And
it's good.
I'm hoping that someone like Francis will invite me to like an Ethereum conference in the future and be like, Joe, can you just go and interview founders, and then we can turn it into another video. You know what I mean? I just think this kind of content has legs. Now
you have to play Sacha Baron Cohen, or you have to go do a different character every time. You have to dress up as a Kazaki guy, as a homosexual German. So you have to you have to change.
I'm not doing Bruno. There's no that would.
You have, for the good of Bitcoin, you have.
Yeah. Well, everything has a price, right? Especially in Bitcoin. Okay, wicked. Giacomo, is there anything else, or should I wrap up there?
No, nothing else. Sending you the link to the lecture, and speak soon.
Thank you so much for your time, mate. Really appreciate it. I hope to see you in somewhere exotic, probably El Salvador, in January.
Well, 2 weeks. I'm there for
adopting. Are you going to adopting? Wow, dude, get some rest before then, before February.
I will try.
Okay, thank you so much again. Make sure you follow Giacomo wherever he goes on the internet, and of course follow Plan B Network. Thank you to everyone listening at home. Do check out the YouTube video if you came to this audibly, and I hope to bring you a lot more interesting conversations with the best Bitcoiners very soon. Thanks so much. That was the ever-charming Giacomo in Lugano. If you'd like to explore more of his work, then you can check out Plan B Network. It's an excellent free resource for learning all about Bitcoin. You can also follow Giacomo on Twitter, or maybe even on Nostr. His handle is @Giacomo Zucco. A huge thank you to Plan B Network for being such a valuable educational platform. And don't worry, they are definitely not launching a shitcoin anytime soon. I would also like to thank Coin Corner, a British Bitcoin exchange run by fantastic people offering an exceptional product. They have been Bitcoin only since 2014, so you know they're the real deal. Please check them out. I am Joe Nakamoto, and if you hit subscribe, I'll bring you some more Bitcoin content very, very soon. Do what you love and save in Bitcoin.